Hi everyone, welcome to our Crash Not Accident presentation. The term accident can lead to people feeling that crashes are inevitable, whereas they can actually be prevented with careful driving, safe street design, and other traffic safety principles. This presentation is brought to you by Circulate San Diego, the California Office of Traffic Safety, and the City of San Diego. For today's agenda, we'll be discussing what is Circulate San Diego, the National Crash Not Accident Campaign, walking, biking, and micromobility, nighttime and inclement weather, and distracted driving. We will start off by diving into what Circulate San Diego does as an organization. We are a local nonprofit organization who works with residents and communities across San Diego County. We have two arms to our organization, but we all prioritize safety and mobility options for all. Our planning team does a variety of things throughout the county. A few of the things we do are mobility assessments, safety campaigns for all ages and abilities, community engagement, and safe routes to school programs, among many other things. Our policy and advocacy team works on safe streets, transit, and sustainable growth, among many other things. Crash Not Accident is a campaign led by the Transportation Alternatives to educate residents of the United States about our role in preventing traffic deaths and serious injuries by acknowledging that crashes are not merely accidents but the result of human error and systematic decisions. We don't call a plane crash an accident. We also don't call drunk driving an accident. Traffic crashes are preventable. They are not accidents. We can no longer accept death and serious injuries on San Diego streets as inevitable or simply the cost of doing business. We can and must do more to save lives so that all San Diegans can walk, bike, or drive without risking life or limb. This movement is about taking accountability for our actions. Getting into a car is probably the most dangerous thing any of us do each day. Nearly 4.5 million people are killed or injured in car crashes in the United States each year. Additionally, per the Centers for Disease Control, traffic crash deaths in 2018 cost California $5.83 billion in medical costs and work loss costs. Let this remind you of the massive responsibility we all have to keep each other safe. Last year, 105 pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicle and motorcycle drivers, and passengers lost their lives unnecessarily on San Diego streets. Of those 105, 48 were drivers, 8 were passengers, 41 were pedestrians, 6 were bicyclists, and 2 were other. On top of those 105, 665 more were seriously injured. People tend to think of their cars as a home away from home, and often forget that they are moving thousands of pounds of steel around at high speeds. The average car weighs around 4,000 pounds, or 2 tons. It takes both patience and attention. Multitasking while driving is super dangerous and can easily cost someone their life. Speeding kills. Drivers should always follow the posted speed limit on all roads. While it may be tempting to speed up if someone is tailing you, or if you're on a wide open road, or if you're just in a hurry, it's imperative to remember that the faster you're driving, the more dangerous the consequence will be if you crash for any reason. Not just the consequences for yourself, but for others too. 54% of deaths from vehicle crashes are pedestrians, cyclists, or motorcyclists. The faster a person is driving, the lower chance of survival are for the individual involved should there be a crash. 40 miles per hour doesn't sound that fast, right? 9 out of 10 pedestrians hit by drivers traveling at that speed will not survive the impact. Now join me in taking the pledge. I pledge to not call traffic crashes accidents, because the word accident makes traffic crashes sound like they are not preventable and exonerates responsibility of the person who caused a collision. Drivers must learn how to share the road with other road users. As a driver, we have the responsibility to share the road with all other road users, including cyclists, scooter riders, and pedestrians. Your decisions often have the largest impacts simply by the nature of the size of your vehicles and the speeds at which you travel at. Right-of-way is a legal right to pass along a specific route. Sometimes when two entities encounter each other, they have to determine who has a right-of-way. Luckily, we have laws that tell us what to do in those situations. For example, when two cars are stopped at an intersection, the driver going straight always has a right-of-way over the driver who is turning. In California, if a pedestrian is crossing in a crosswalk, marked or unmarked, drivers are required by law to exercise caution, reduce their speeds, and stop if necessary to ensure that they are able to cross safely, even if the crosswalk is in the middle of the block and does not have a stop sign. Even if you have a green light and are trying to make a right turn, you must yield to the pedestrian using a crosswalk if they have a walk sign. It is important to let a pedestrian know that you see them by making eye contact or waving and to show that you're slowing down. Never block a crosswalk or curb ramp with your vehicle either. Saving a couple seconds on your trip is not worth risking an individual's life. Next, we need to recognize signage and pavement markings. There are many variations of bike lanes, including shared use paths, protected bike lanes, also known as separated bike lanes or cycle tracks, buffered bike lanes, and many others. What you see in the first image is a buffered bike lane. As a bicyclist, bike lanes are typically the safest place on the road that they can be. They are areas where drivers are not allowed to be, which keeps cyclists from having to navigate the road with heavy and dangerous vehicles. Scooters and skateboards and other micromobility options are also allowed to use these spaces. However, there can sometimes be obstacles that cause cyclists to leave bike lanes momentarily. This could be a car that is illegally parked in the lane, a pothole, or slower moving cyclists that they'd like to pass. It is perfectly legal for cyclists to leave the bike lane, and before doing so, we'll scan their surroundings and signal to let others know what they are going to do. The next two images are pretty self-explanatory. These serve as reminders for drivers that cyclists are allowed to use a road to its full use. We prefer that bicycles may use full lane sign because it's a good reminder and directing this messaging. Sometimes people misinterpret share the road as a message to bicyclists to let drivers pass them, but that is not the meaning of the road nor is it the law. Finally, we have a picture of a sharrow. A sharrow is a way of communicating to drivers that they should expect bicyclists in the lane, and it is a way of reassuring bicyclists that they are able to use the full lane. This is not a bike lane, and of course bicyclists are allowed to use lanes with or without sharrow markings, but this symbol should encourage drivers to be more careful and perceptive of cyclists. Finally, we have a bike box. A bike box is a painted green box in front of parked cars in front of an intersection. This is to increase biker visibility at an intersection. For bicyclists, we must make sure to give them an appropriate amount of space when sharing a lane, passing or parking. If you're ever trying to pass a bicyclist, you should never do so if you can't give them at least 3 feet of distance. Ideally, we give them as much space as we could. If that means you have to drive behind them at a slower pace until a lane opens up, then so be it. Again, saving a little bit of time on your trip is not worth risking an individual's life. Cyclists are not traveling slowly to agitate drivers. They are just people trying to get from one place to another safely, just like you are. Respect them by giving them the space they need to be safe and comfortable. Something you'll want to get in the habit of is checking over your shoulders for bicyclists before you turn, park, or open your car door. Most bike lanes will be located to the right-hand side of a lane. Before making a right turn across the bike lane, make sure to check over your shoulder and in your rear view mirror to make sure you don't right hook anyone. Similarly, a lot of times there is street parking located directly adjacent to a bike lane. Before opening your door, make sure to check over your shoulders and make sure you are not about to door a cyclist. Please never park your car in a sidewalk or a bike lane. Even if you're just stopping by for a minute to pick up some takeout or drop off a package, it is not legal and it endangers pedestrians and cyclists, forcing them to swerve out into another lane unexpectedly. The only times that a vehicle is permitted to cross into a bike lane in California are to 1. Enter an area that permits parking, or 2. To enter or leave the roadway, or 3. To prepare for a turn within 200 feet of an intersection. Driving at night or in inclement weather can be very dangerous, as visibility levels are reduced. Fortunately, there are things that drivers can do to better ensure their safety on the road when driving in these conditions. As a driver, we must always maintain visibility. A crack or smudges on your windshield can refract light and increase glare from oncoming headlights. Similarly, having damaged or obscured headlights can make it harder for other road users to see you. Keep everyone safe by maintaining the quality of your windshield and headlights to the highest degree possible. Be sure to also dim your interior lights, also your dashboard or your GPS, so that you can reduce distractions and reflections while driving. As a driver, we must always stay alert. According to the CDC, drowsy driving can be just as dangerous as driving under the influence of alcohol. Being awake for 18 hours or more is the equivalent of having a blood alcohol content of 0.05, which is near the illegal limit of 0.08%. We must always be alert, awake, and attentive while driving during late nights and early mornings, even if it may be challenges. Some tips include keeping our car at a cool temperature, turning the radio on, and opening the windows for some fresh air. If you find yourself getting drowsy, the best thing to do is to find a safe area to get some rest or stop for the night. We must always make an attempt to slow down during nighttime or in bad weather conditions. Our headlights can illuminate a good distance ahead of us, but visibility is still not comparable to that of daylight hours. This often results in shorter reaction times. Therefore, we must try not to tailgate other drivers in the case they stop quickly. You can and should always use your high beams to extend your visibility when appropriate, such as in rural areas or on local roads. But be sure to dim your lights back to low beam when approaching other drivers. Always make yourself seen. The last thing we want to do as a driver is not realize that a car is stopped in front of us along a shoulder and hit it from behind. If your car breaks down or you need to pull over for any reason, the safest place to be is as far out of the travel lane as possible, inside of a car and with your seatbelt on. Make yourself seen by turning on your hazard lights, wearing a reflective safety vest if you have one, and setting out LED road flares behind our vehicle if you have them, and await emergency help. As a driver, we must always stay in control. If you encounter inclement weather, such as a rainstorm, you should follow all the same rules as driving at night. You must slow down, turn on your headlights, and pull over in a safe place if needed. Additionally, there are a few other tips you can follow to make sure you stay in control of your vehicle. First, avoid using cruise control during inclement weather, because you always want to make sure you can make quick adjustments to your speed. Secondly, if you find yourself hydroplaning, do the best to stay calm and avoid slamming on the brakes or the accelerator. Gradually ease your foot off the accelerator and steer gently towards an open space of the road. Proactively, you can prevent hydroplaning by making sure that your tire threads are not worn down. Finally, never drive through a puddle that is so deep you can't see the road markings beneath it. If too much water gets beneath your vehicle, your engine could stall and you could lose control. According to the NHTSA, distracted driving killed 3,142 people in the United States in 2020. Per the CDC, more than 400,000 additional people were injured in distracted driving related crashes. In California, there are even laws prohibiting distracted driving. If ticketed, you will be charged a hefty fine and could even receive points on your driver's license. As a driver, we should always avoid distracted driving. There are three main ways of being distracted: visually, manually, and cognitively. Visual distracted driving could be as simple as looking out the window at billboards or trying to follow our GPS. Manual distracted driving could be texting, eating, or grabbing something from our bag, or fiddling with the radio. And cognitively can be getting lost in an audiobook or a podcast, daydreaming, talking on your cell phone, or singing along to loud music. We should avoid all three of these distracted driving and always maintain control of our vehicle. We must never lose focus. Eating, drinking, making a call, and checking on a phone can pull attention away from the road. We may think we are not driving when we are stopped at a light or in traffic, but you are actually driving the whole time your car is on, and that is where your attention needs to be. If you need to access your phone for any reason, please pull over in a safe location or consider using text-to-speech applications. And that concludes the end of our presentation. Thank you to everyone, and we hope you learned something new today about being a safe driver. If you'd like to learn more about Circulate San Diego, please visit our website at www.circulatesd.org. This presentation was brought to you by Circulate San Diego, the California Office of Traffic Safety, and the City of San Diego. Thank you.